Ladies and gentlemen, firstly, a hearty good evening. My name is Kavya R. Chavali, and I wholeheartedly welcome all of you to the 4th edition of Times Group Presents ET Now Best Organizations for Women 2024. Right at the start, we're going to have the opening address featuring a superwoman herself. Please put your hands together to welcome on stage Dr. Seema Rao.
As a child, I would read, I would listen to stories from my dad. But apart from that, I also read a lot of Amar Chitra Kathas. And I read about the Mahabharata, and I understood one thing. Do your karma, forget about the rewards. For 25 years of my life, I trained the forces. I did not charge the country a rupee for my work. It was a selfless service. My birthday is on the 5th of March. I turned 50 some years back. And on the 5th of March, I received one call. I picked up the line. And the lady on the other side of the line said, ma'am, I'm speaking from the president's office, and you have to come to Delhi to Rashtrapati Bhavan because you're going to receive the president's Nari Shakti Award. Thank you very much.
Now, we have aptly called this, as we talk about C-suite, this is the she-suite, wherein we focus on the legacy, the ladder, and the leadership. Please put your hands together as I invite Nandini Piramal, Devita Saraf, and Parizad Sirwala.
What does it take for a young veteran to achieve what you have?
One of the things I find that with a lot of women entrepreneurs, very often people around them don't take them and their careers as seriously or their companies as seriously. It took me 8 years to go from 0 to 35 crores. Within 4 years, we grew from 35 crores to 960 crores. So this is really the J curve of business. Thank you.
Women still face barriers when it comes to entry and advancement. How do you think these industry-specific obstacles can be dismantled?
I think a lot more conversations and a lot more, I think women have to also, you have to balance the, yes, these are my family needs, but these are also the work needs, but tenacity and again, credibility and showing up to some extent matters. If you're good at what you do, you get a lot more leeway.
Thank you so much.
Our next panel discussion actually talks about what organizations can do to look beyond re-entry of women in workforce.
What are some of the building blocks when we talk about, retaining women who are losing, who we are losing out?
The building block of it starts with ownership from the leadership team as well as the integration with our culture and creating a work environment that is psychologically safe.
There are strategic priorities. There are projects that need to be done. How do you balance it out with women who need that flexibility at that time?
Any of our working mothers, if they want to return after their maternity leave, they have an option to work 50% from office or 50% from home, or work entirely from home.
How do we strike a balance between ambition and not overloading them or a burnout, especially for working women?
We have many operations and many back-end functions as well. It's possible for us to, for that period of time, allow the woman flexibility to go into another role. And then when she comes back, she can come back with equal gusto.
How do we sensitize women who are going to be on leave and they have their own fears, etc.?
Awareness about policies itself. Like a lot of times managers, whose team members are going on maternity, they don't know what policies are existing.
How do we measure the effectiveness of all this?
When we have our annual Global People Survey, we take feedback from staff to say, how are we doing? Everything that we say on paper or we are saying that is happening, actually do you experience it in your life? And those are the scores that actually contribute overall to the measurement that we do.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
And before we actually get started with the felicitations, we'll also take the opportunity to unveil the ET Now Best Organizations for Women Coffee Table book. And to do the honors, may I please invite Dr. Seema Rao to please come on stage, ma'am. I've requested ma'am to point the clicker to the screen, and there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, the very first brand, the very first name that's being felicitated this evening, let's put our hands together for AB InBev GCC Services India.
putting the accountability from a team or an individual to the leaders, to every single employee is the first step. And then ensuring that everything you do is underpinned by the principles of equality, by the principles of inclusion. That's the only way that we could break these stereotypes and gender biases at the workplace.
Let me please invite on stage Abwi.
You dismantle inequality when you foster a culture which encourages a mindset which is inclusive and fosters a culture which also depends upon how do you look at meritocracy as talent growth, which is agnostic of gender. It focuses on creating avenues which are meant for growth within the organization, and you value every voice within the organization to bring its best to the table.
Next, let me please invite Alvarez and Marcel.
See, it's very important for leaders to walk the talk, right? Calling out women who are going way and beyond. That is how it sets the tone of the culture, that this is how women are being celebrated, women are being acknowledged, and their achievements are celebrated.
And let's now move on to inviting Avery Dennison, India.
We collaborate with a lot of external partners to learn the best practices across the domain, across the industries. These learning help us to make sure we design our training program accordingly, where we keep on creating more and more awareness and learning to our employees, which help them to understand the empowerment of gender equality.
This evening, we have the presence of another dynamic leader herself. In fact, after being the collector of Nagpur, she is currently posted as CEO, Maharashtra State Khadi and Village Industries Board. If I could please humbly invite Vimla ma'am to please come on stage.
So essentially, when a woman is involved in rural Maharashtra or rural India to be part of the entrepreneurship journey, it transforms the whole family, the whole society, because when she earns money, she is contributing to the health and education and betterment of the child. And it is the women who are working in the fields, and they're also working at home and doing everything else.
Well, those are some dynamic thoughts there from Vimla ma'am. Thank you so much indeed. For our next panel discussion, we're going to focus as to why employee resource groups and support networks truly matter.
You all are leading human resource leaders in your organizations. What role do you think employee resource group play in your organization towards the success of women employees?
Our employees comes first, even before the customers and the stakeholders. And as an organization, the leadership team is more as a support for them versus kind of, letting them know what to do and not. So they have their own voice, and there is a lot of empowerment.
Vanda, what about you? How do you manage ERG? What's the philosophy?
At Carlsberg, we believe that for an organization to thrive and for people to flourish, you should be able to bring your whole selves to work. And where I feel these ERGs really contribute is they give you a space to be yourself.
Runa, over to you. Would love to hear your perspective on the role ERGs play and the business impact.
One of the circle leads had been toying with writing for a while. She had been writing poetry since she was really young. But you know what happens to most of us? We get caught up in our work lives or other things that we are doing, and we just lose that creative spark and we don't pay that much attention to it. But when she discussed this in their group, the amount of accountability that the team held her to and said, no, you're going to finish that book, and we're going to ask you, check on your progress, how are you doing? She felt so inspired and motivated by that. She finished her book, she got published, and she attributes that to this network.
Thank you so much, ladies. Good luck with your initiatives.
Thank you, Aditi.
To another interesting fireside chat, how to become the hero of your own story. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the riveting presence of Aditi Govitrikar, supermodel, doctor, actor, psychologist, and Meghna Pant, author, screenwriter, journalist.
as a mental wellness coach, what tips would you give to working women, and especially the guilt that women feel, if they're mothers, without losing their mind, without their children losing their mind? How do we navigate this, working mother syndrome?
Going through mother's guilt is okay. If you feel guilty, become aware of it that yes, right now I'm feeling guilty. It's okay. Don't beat yourself. But also understand that guilt and worry are the two most useless emotions. Having that understanding, when you ask yourself that, okay, I'm feeling guilty, now what? When you ask yourself that, things will fall in place. You'll be okay.
Great, thank you. I'm being indicated that we need to wrap up, but you've been such a lovely audience, and thanks, Aditi, for being here.
The ET Now Best Organizations for Women 2024. And this time to do the honors, Colonel Noreen John and Wing Commander Rajlakshmi Prithviraj. This organization that's being felicitated this evening, let's hear it for Central Bank of India.
Points that will break the gender diversity is one is we should have a diverse leadership. Second part is having gender neutral policies. Third and the most important part is we should have some matrix and accountability. We need to measure continuously what we are doing in these particular areas and how do we get over this.
Moving ahead, let's now invite DP World.
At the entry level in management, there's a major effort for us to go around to management institutes and make them aware of all the products, innovations and diversity we bring on board, and how gender diversity can actually foster great resilience in the logistics industry per se.
Well, up next, let me please invite on stage EQ India.
We focus on diversity and inclusion through three major aspects. One is the policy framework. Our policies of equal pay, equal opportunity, maternity, to and fro, safe transport for our women employees, prevention of sexual harassment, etc. The second aspect is we have a platform called Empower Her. It focuses on four main themes. One is removal of conscious or unconscious bias among all the managers and the leaders within the organization that they could have towards women employees. The second is to provide a platform for women to share their experiences. The third is to build careers for women. And the fourth is to build a sense of community.
Let's march ahead and let's invite Collins Aerospace.
To include women and embrace diversity means not only recruiting and hiring women, but make them feel valued, empowered, and supported in the organization. To do this, we have curated our programs, policies, and practices that enable them to realize their potential and be at their best.
With that being said, it's also invite organization Randstad India.
If you look at gender pay parity and gender equity as an issue, of course, there's a lot of messaging that is required at the leadership levels in every organization. Indeed, they are very important in the messaging and also in influencing the rest of the organization. However, such a decision is made at different levels within the organization. It is indeed very important to give them the empowerment and also the needed education to make the right decisions in this matter.
Well, up next, let's invite on stage Kyndryl.
If you look at micro inequalities, it essentially mentions how little things that we do and say actually impact, and it's not necessarily just a large thing called gender inequality. So if you look at it from that standpoint, what you say versus what somebody absorbs and hears or listens makes a difference, which is why relationships matter. So when you work towards a cause like this, everything has to be factored in from an ecosystem within the organization, socially, and the individual itself.
It's time to invite the next organization. Let's hear it, ladies and gentlemen, for Intuit India.
Organizations evolve with different strategies, but thing that tops in my list is culture, right? Culture is beast, but you know, how, if in simple terms, if I have to define how culture it is for my team, it's about leadership just exhibiting that, right? For me, exhibiting that is about sharing my experiences, sharing the journey, making someone believe that you can also thrive in that environment.
The next organization, VFS Global.
Organizations and leaders play the most critical role in building a fair and gender diverse workplace, from ensuring gender equality in workplace policies to setting up rigorous training modules to mitigate gender bias are basic requirements of an organization.
Let me now please invite the next organization that's being felicitated, Power Grid Corporation of India.
Power Grid ensures its commitment to gender equality and empowerment by implementing policies that promote diversity and inclusion at all levels of the organization. This includes recruitment practices that prioritize gender balance, providing equal opportunities for career advancement, and offering training programs to foster an inclusive workplace culture.
Topic of discussion, and this is where we're talking about creating inclusive workplaces to drive innovation.
Definitely the last pandemic created a major disruption, which is led by two industries in terms of solutions and innovations, pharma and logistics. How gender diversity has influenced the pharma industry, and it's leading to multiple innovations.
You're absolutely right. A lot of disruption has happened in the last couple of years in the pharma and life sciences space. I think what COVID did was it disrupted our business model. The traditional face-to-face engagement with the healthcare community is largely getting displaced with a lot of usage of technology. And I think the whole ecosystem is evolving to interact with the pharma world in a very different way. And hence it has helped us suddenly, leapfrog in terms of our ability to attract and retain female in our workforce. And that obviously helps in terms of different ideas, different ways of doing things. And I think the momentum will just continue. Thank you. Thanks for listening to us patiently. And thank you, Ashwini. It's a pleasure to be here on the stage with you.
Then moving ahead, let's now invite on stage HDFC Ergo General Insurance Company.
I think organizations and leadership can truly become champions for inclusion when they make sure that the workplaces are equitable, which means there are opportunities available to people of different gender, preferences, orientation, ethnicity, abilities, thoughts, ideas, suggestions. So it's more like creating an inclusive workplace.
I now invite the next organization, Pitney Bowes.
So for Pitney Bowes, diversity, inclusion and equity are not just the words, but it is who we are and a journey to be our best selves. We pay great focus on creating safe spaces for everyone to have conversations around gender equality and empowerment.
We now invite Ramco Systems.
We have what we call power, which is kind of synonymous to what you guys have going on here as your hashtag. But in Ramco, it stands for Pride in Women Excellence at Ramco. And it's a resource group where all the women come together, they discuss important issues both from a career and a personal standpoint.
Next organization that's being felicitated. Let's hear it, ladies and gentlemen, for Tata BlueScope Steel.
We have a specific POSH team which looks after the POSH function across the 4 regions, where we have people who are external to the organization included in those teams, which address any POSH issues that come up.
We'd now like to invite on stage the next organization, Mars India.
For me personally, the most powerful way to bring this to life is through the 3H model of heart, head and hands. The heart is all about people understanding at an emotional level that we need to take action on tackling gender inequality. The head is about understanding conceptually what we need to do, and the hands are all about taking action every day in ways small and big. Our associate concept ensures that all individuals are treated equally and have a voice irrespective of gender.
Well, the next organization that we're about to invite on stage, ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for Trident Group.
The more women, the more underrepresented genders that we see in the leadership team taking decision speaks volume of an organization's commitment to the idea of diversity and inclusion. Of course, everything else is equally important too, whether it's addressing unconscious bias, sensitizing the ecosystem to what is required for women and other underrepresented genders to feel equal. What is the extra that is needed to create a feeling of equity within the organization speaks volumes.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're now about to gear up for the next session, and this is where we're actually going to be talking about stories of triumph from women in uniform.
So let me first go to Colonel Noreen. You have almost 800 men under you undergoing training. What does it mean to lead troops and train them?
So if you are professionally sound, competent, confident, and caring towards your troops, they accept you.
I will, from Army, go to Navy and come to Lieutenant Commander Anshul Sharma. What made you leave a corporate job?
So concurrently, when I was working outside, I was preparing for the armed forces. And the first opportunity that I got was from the Indian Navy. And Navy gives me a new horizon every day, and I cherish every moment that I've lived in this white uniform.
Namrata, which is the northernmost part of a country that you have been?
I have embarked my journey both physically and mentally beyond the limits when I have served or I have climbed the northernmost point of a country, that is Indira Col, which is at a height of 19,446 feet, to see how far I can go, how far I can push myself physically, and much more than physical, mentally, when I climbed Mount Everest. That is the highest peak in the world.
Raj Lakshmi, tell me, how do you select normal, regular applicants who come and want to join the Air Force, or similarly the Navy and the Army?
Sir, as far as the Air Force is concerned, both for the officer cadre as well as for the Agniveer, Vayu and Airman cadre, there is a 3-pronged selection process. First and foremost is an online examination. Once you qualify that, comes the phase 2. Now in phase 2, if it is for the Agniveer, Vayu cadre, it happens in Airman selection centers. There are 14 of them all over the country. And again, to get to that level, you have to qualify in the online examination. Now, as far as the officers are concerned, for the officer cadre, once they qualify the AFCAT or the CDS or whichever mode that they have applied, from there, they go on to the Air Force Selection Board. After that is the medicals, thereafter the final merit list. So honestly speaking, at every single stage, it depends on how the individual has performed, and of course, until and unless someone has the josh or the jazba to be a part of the uniformed clan or uniformed family, it becomes a difficult process.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Jai Hind.
All right, so here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, the next organization that's being felicitated this evening, QualiZeal.
quality engineering professionals. There are many of them, so we wanted to attract them to our organization. So to accomplish that, what we did is that we first deliberately hired some of the women leaders so that they can provide some good mentorship, leadership, the guidance to the younger women that can join us.
Let's now invite the next organization, ladies and gentlemen. Let's also hear it for Quest Global.
Gender equality and empowerment are not just buzzwords at Quest Global, they are embedded in our DNA. One of the tenets or pillars of our culture is care for people, which in every sense is about caring for every individual, irrespective of caste, creed, or gender. Our commitment extends beyond policies. It is about fostering a mindset where diversity thrives and women are empowered at every level in the organization. It's about creating opportunities, providing mentorship, and championing equal representation.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, let me please invite on stage AXA Global Business Services.